The Alice killings, the strangest and most unsolvable serial killings in all of Japan. From 1999 to 2005, a series of 5 killings took place in Japan. This might not seem like that big of a deal or being the slightest bit strange, but these 5 killings all had something in common. At each murder, a calling card was left at each crime scene. The murderer would leave a playing card, the suite varied from killing to killing, at each scene of the crime, leaving it in an obvious location, and would write the name Alice on it in the victim's own blood. The first victim was Sasaki Megumi, a 29-year-old owner of a restaurant. A wonderful cook and hard worker who was also rough to her employees, Megumi was very social and often went to parties. It was after one such party that she went missing. Deciding to walk home from her friend's house as she was a bit too drunk to drive and was only a block or so from home, she was seen leaving the party at 1 in the morning, and this is the last time she was seen alive. The next morning, a couple walking in the woods about a mile away from Megumi's house saw a large amount of blood on an overgrown, unused path. Curious, they followed it, where they found Megumi's body. She had been torn apart, her appendages impaled on various tree branches. The couple called the police. At the scene, the police found the playing card crammed into Megumi's mouth. It was a jack of spades, which had the word Alice written on it. There were no fingerprints or any DNA to be found. There was vomit on the scene, but the female of the couple admitted that it was hers. The second killing was of Yamami Akio, a struggling singer in a band that played at various bars and community functions. His friends described Yamani as a kind-hearted man who would never raise his voice to others. Akio was abducted from his apartment on February 11, 2001. His bandmates were the last people to see him alive, as he had practiced with them earlier this day. That night, his girlfriend came to visit him and was surprised to find the house empty. Within days, a missing persons report was filed and the search for Akio began. On the security footage of the apartment, a hooded figure could be seen entering through a side door and leaving with a large filled garbage bag. The strange appearance was never accounted for, and no one saw the strange man in person. This man was widely believed to be the killer, but his face was never shown. The following week, the owner of the bar where the band had often performed was opening for the day and was met with a grisly sight. Slumped at a table was Akio's body. His vocal cords had been ripped from his throat and he had been shot in the head. His Alice card was a king of diamonds and was found clutched in his hands along with his ruined vocal cords. After his death, Akio's band fell apart, not having the heart to find a new singer to replace him. The third victim was a teen girl, Kai Sakura. Well loved by her classmates and relatives, Sakura wanted to go to college to be a fashion designer and was a week from graduating high school when she was abducted. Sakura's family frantically tried to find her. Her body was found 2 days later, buried in a shallow grave. It didn't seem that the killer wanted her hidden. On the contrary, he had marked the grave with her Alice playing card, the Queen of Clubs. It had been taped to a stick and stuck on top of the grave. Sakura's body had been horribly mutilated. Her eyes had been carved from her body, her skin was flayed, and her mouth had been carved open. A crown had been sewn to her head while she was still alive. Along with Sakura's body was a note written in crooked handwriting and filled with confusing and disjointed phrases like, "Death is a distorted dream, she will forever rule, and those who die are the lucky ones." A match to the writing was never found. Murders number 4 and 5 happened at the same time as the victims were siblings. Hayato and Haina were brother and sister, very close and rarely fought. Haina was the elder sister and was very stubborn. Her younger brother, Hayato, was very smart, even skipping a grade and joining the same class as his beloved sister. The two were found dead in their beds on April 4th, 2005. The cause of the death was lethal injection. The children's bedroom window was open, and it was deduced that the killer snuck in quietly enough to kill the two without waking them, then snuck back out. Each child held half of an Ace of Hearts playing card that, when put together, spelled out the word Alice in blood. A year later, the mother, Hayato, and Haina committed suicide out of grief. Shortly after the death of the siblings, a man named Suzuki Yuto was arrested for all 5 murders. He was a homeless man with mental issues and claimed to not remember where he was at the time of any of the murders. Most damning of all, he was seen wearing a coat that had belonged to Yamani Akio, victim number 2. Yuto, who was getting increasingly unstable during interrogation, claimed that a quote, demon black man with no face had given him the coat. But Yuto was eventually released when a homeless shelter claimed to have Yuto in their files on the night of Sakura's, victim number 3's, murder. Since there was no way for him to get to where she was abducted and back without being noticed, Yuto was released. And here's where things get even weirder, if that's even possible. On April 30th, 2008, a producer named Yugami P uploaded a song to the internet called Hitubashira Arisu, which roughly translates to Alice of Human Sacrifice. The song is believed to be based off of the Alice killings, telling the story of each Alice murder. The song has few parallels with each killing, with certain facts that weren't known to the general public. In the song, the first Alice was trapped in the woods, which is where Megumi's body was found. The second Alice was a singer who was quote-unquote shot by a madman. The third Alice was well-loved and was taken over by a quote-unquote distorted dream. The fourth and fifth Alice were a pair of twins. They were described in the song as stubborn big sister and intelligent younger brother. It also speaks of how they have yet to awaken, a possible reference to them dying in their sleep. More importantly of all, the suits of the cards found with each dead body are also mentioned in the song, and mentioned correctly.